Good evening. Usually, before we'll believe something, we want proof, or as much proof as we can get. Before you buy a car, you try to check it out. Before I'll try to skate across that frozen lake, I'm going to make sure the ice is solid. But when it comes to the supernatural, ESP, psychic powers, astrology, and so forth, lots of people have a different standard. They believe because they want to believe. They care less about proof because believing makes them happy. Now, if you're only 4 years old, it's okay to believe in things we know not to be true, like Santa Claus.
He lives in the sky.
Who does?
Santa Claus.
Tell me about the Easter Bunny. He's real? What does he do?
He gives you candy.
To learn more about what psychologists call magical thinking, Professor Robert Cavanaugh at Williams College in Massachusetts devised a test that involves an imaginary animal and a box. He repeated it for us on these 4 to 6-year-olds.
Where do you want to fly to, Emma?
First, he divides the kids into pairs, and then his research assistant calls the kids' attention to the large empty box.
Wow, you guys have been so good.
What's in the box?
Wow.
As we watch from behind a two-way mirror, the children are shown that there's nothing in the box.
It's empty.
Then she tells them a story about a hungry fox who lives in the box.
And his name is Freddie Fox.
They're told it's just pretend.
Look, I think I hear him, and I think he's going to come out of his house.
And she again tells them it was all make-believe.
Remember, we're just pretending, and there's no fox in that box, okay, Isaac and Emma?
Then she tells them she has to leave them alone for a few minutes.
I'll be right back.
Now, I assume that the kids, having looked in the box, will know that there's no fox in there. But they don't. Some hear the fox.
I heard something. He's gonna come out in 3 minutes.
They worry about it.
What? That was just the wind.
Some go to the box to listen, but are afraid to open.
1 more minute. Uh-oh. No.
Well, one pair does. Some kids accept that there's no fox in there, but most kids aren't sure.
7 minutes left.
This is what happens in test after test. Almost every child begins to believe that the animal they helped create might be real.
Hey, guys, thanks for waiting.
We're hiding from the fox.
You are?
Even when the researcher explains again that there was no fox in the box, most children believe it was there.
I told Riley that the fox will come out.
Even Emma, who looked in when Isaac opened the box.
Isaac opened the box and he saw the largest fox.
Sometimes when we form beliefs, those beliefs persist against logic or evidence to the contrary. When I talked to the kids later, many were still convinced that the fox was in there.
Are you sure?
No. No. Yes. Yes. There is a fox. There is a fox. There is a fox. We saw one. We saw one. Yeah.
Now, while magical thinking's fine for kids, it's another thing when adults do it.
Disappeared.
We're not talking mainstream religion here, but lots of people believe they can talk to the dead.
Yes.
Or have their illnesses cured by the wave of a hand. Some believe a psychic or astrologer can predict their future.
A relationship is coming to a head.
Some hope to be taught to fly. This man claims to be at the first stage of levitation. Maharishi University says there's historical proof that people used to be able to fly.
Virtually conclusive historical evidence in a number of cases. In Europe, they're called the saints. In India, the yogis.
And now they say for several $1,000s, they'll teach you. Sure looks like bouncing to me, but people pay. Stock analyst Walter Zimmerman says it's brought him bliss.
My life pivoted around the first time I lifted off. It felt like I was like a popcorn. You just pop up in the air. And you realize, holy smokes, I just levitated.
And he's working better.
It enables me to do my job much, much better than I would otherwise be able to.
Other people are learning how to walk on hot coals, embers from a wood fire. The instructors say to walk on this, you must focus your mind. Yet you don't have to focus your mind because
Anybody can do this.
David Willey is a professor of physics at the University of Pittsburgh. He's a firewalker. In fact, this day he was setting up the world's longest firewalk.
Okay, gents.
To walk on these coals, says Willie, you don't have to be in a particular frame of mind. He's heard all those myths.
if you lose your concentration, you're going to burn, that the body's putting out some kind of field around you,
It's all bunk.
protecting you.
Bunk.
Bonk is a word you might use, yeah. Feet nice and flat, and just a nice brisk walk. Don't run.
You just have to keep moving, he says. I could do it, because wood's a good insulator. When you touch it, the heat doesn't instantly go to your feet. Why am I not going to get burnt? I mean, that's hot enough to roast the marshmallow.
You're not going to get burnt because wood is a poor thermal conductor.
What's the temperature now?
About 1,000 Fahrenheit.
You don't have to believe anything or chant anything.
You don't have to believe anything. You don't have to chant anything. Nice steady walk. You just walk across the fire.
If he can do it, maybe I can. Wow, that's hot, but I'm not burned. I think I'm burned. No, I'm not burned. 15 people firewalked that day, setting the 165-foot world distance record. Not one of them was burned. There's nothing mystical about it. But the fact that so many people believe in the mystical exasperates James Randi. Randi, once known as the Amazing Randi, used to work as a magician, fooling people for a living. But then, annoyed at how often people believed his tricks really were magic, he changed careers.
James Randi Educational Foundation.
Today, Randi spends his time analyzing paranormal and supernatural claims.
Come on, don't laugh. This is the man's invention.
I think I know what inspired this whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
It looks like a brandy snifter.
Randi contributes to magazines like Skeptic, which try to reveal the pseudoscience behind things like cults, New Age beliefs, and people who claim they know there's life after death. His offices are cluttered with thousands of discredited claims.
I'm married to a man who's dead. I married him after he died. Okay.
Years ago, Randi helped put a dent in the fabulous career of psychic Uri Geller. Geller was on magazine cover after cover, and on TV with Johnny Carson, Barbara Walters, Tom Snyder.
This guy is bending this key.
He supposedly used psychic powers to bend spoons. Here he is with Mike Douglas.
I wanted to bend. I just say bend.
Yeah, you melted it.
See?
This feat was less amazing once Randi exposed it as just a magician's trick.
Woo. Look at it now. Son of a gun. That's astonishing, isn't it?
So that's magic.
It's conjuring. These things are not difficult to do. You just have to do them when people aren't looking. That's astonishing. Look at that. Wow. Ooh.
And now Randi and his foundation have put up $1 million as a prize
This is the one in Finland.
to anyone who could prove they have paranormal abilities.
Fort Lauderdale, hey.
All they have to do is pass a scientific test that'll demonstrate their skill.
If they say they can defy gravity, step over to the window there and step out. And if you don't fall, hey, you win. You win. It's simple to devise a test.
$1 million. It's in the bank. We checked.
And it is available to any person who can provide evidence of any paranormal, occult, or supernatural performance of any kind under proper observing conditions. All they have to do is do what they say they can do every day.
Will they come forward? Will someone prove they really have extrasensory powers? We'll keep looking when we come back. When you're sick, whom do you go to? Establishment scientists offer remedies, but often they're cold, impersonal ones. People in white coats with test tubes and computers want to do things to us that we often don't understand, and they're not always right. So increasingly, people turn to alternative therapies. To try to cure cancer, some people have ozone gas run through their hair. Some people with arthritis drag bees across their skin to get the bees to sting them, which is supposed to make their joints work better.
Open the eye one more time.
Iridologists say they'll tell you what's wrong with your entire body by looking at your eye. This chart maps out how every part of the eye supposedly corresponds to a different part of the body.
You have a spasmic colon, something called spasmic.
Millions of people go to arenas to see faith healers like Benny Hinn.
I break your hold on him, devil, in Jesus' name. I break your hold on him. I break it!
This man says faith healing cured his cancer. He did also get conventional chemotherapy, but he says he got better because of this.
No pain.
Some people get the same results going to voodoo priests. Elmer Glover's a voodoo priest. So is Ava K. Jones. They have big followings in New Orleans. We paid them to get access to their ceremony. Now, you may think of voodoo as tourist entertainment, but to many people here, it's serious business, used for healing and hurting people. It is a fact that voodoo priests have cursed people who then promptly got sick and died. But scientists say it's not the voodoo, it's the power of suggestion. If you truly believe in the curse, your body may just shut down. But you have to believe. My depraved producers hired Glover to put a curse on me. Break a bone, they suggested. Glover had to send him a sample of my hair and fingernails and an article of clothing I'd worn for a while. Glover then carved my name in a candle, which he brought to a New Orleans cemetery. Here he mixed in my hair and nails, and then to call up the spirits of the dead, he sprayed some rum around, blew cigar smoke into a tree in the center of the graveyard, hung my clothing in the tree so the spirits could find me, did something with a rattle, and of course lit the candle and invited the spirits to hurt me.
John Stossel. I asked to help impress the voodoo spirits. I call upon all beings of voodoo to assist me.
So far, nothing's happened. I'm still riding my bike to work. Haven't broken any bones. Of course, it's only been a few months, and as Glover warned,
Be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it.
watching voodoo. Here, Priestess Jones says she's pulling out someone's negative energy and shaking it away. I'm struck by how similar it is to what's being done right now in mainstream American hospitals. It's called therapeutic touch, and it's practiced in hundreds of medical centers, even during surgery. In Connecticut, Nurse Ann Miner does therapeutic touch on Lisa Brackett to help treat her leukemia.
Tremendous heat coming from your heart center. Do you feel it? Yeah, I do.
The nurse supposedly feels without touching, from 3 or 4 inches away, feels the defective energy pouring out.
I can feel where the energy is balanced and where it's not balanced. I can feel where it's intense. I can feel it's depleted.
Then she says she channels the healing energy of the universe through her hands to you. There's no scientific proof that this works, but the patient says that doesn't matter.
I don't need explanations because I have faith in the process. That's a really wonderful thing when you feel helpless, terrified, when you're given a diagnosis, like I was.
It's hard to argue with satisfied patients. But 2 years ago, a 9-year-old girl in Colorado thought that for her 4th grade science project, she'd put therapeutic touch to the test.
Today I'm going to test you on how well you can feel the human energy field.
Emily Rose's test was simple. She asked practitioners of therapeutic touch to feel the energy from her hand. But first, she had them put their hand through a towel and piece of cardboard so they couldn't see where her hand was. She didn't ask them to heal anything. She just asked the most basic question.
Tell me which of your hands you think my hand is over.
Left.
Again and again, touch therapists failed the test.
Left.
Amazingly, they kept volunteering to take the test. And even when they failed to do better at picking the correct hand than they would have done flipping a coin, their faith in their skills was not dimmed.
Okay.
This woman guessed right only 3 times out of 10.
How do you think the test went?
I think it went very well.
Okay, you got 1 right. Sorry.
So, were they embarrassed?
No, not really. Some thought if you got 4 out of 10 right, they thought you'd pass. And obviously they didn't know their statistics.
We asked more than a dozen therapeutic touch specialists to come here and take your test, and not one would. Does that surprise you?
No.
Why is it?
Lots of people think that I'm scared I'm really good.
Well, not that good. Though Emily's test got publicity, it was published in the prestigious Journal of the American Medical Association. Since then, therapeutic touch is practiced more than ever.
80,000 practitioners, most of them registered nurses, who say they can feel the human energy field by passing their hands over the body. Gee, I'll give them $1 million if they can prove that. In a simple test that'll take less than 20 minutes. Do I hear anybody at the door, John? No. Where are they?
Scientists say it's not that therapeutic touch or voodoo directly do anything physically to anyone. It's just that if you believe in them, they sometimes can have an effect. The placebo effect, it's called. If you think a therapy will work,
That alone may make you feel better.
Group 1 will be getting a substance that is a stimulant.
At our request, psychiatrist Michael Aronoff told these students and teachers at Manhattan's Kaplan Educational Services that for a test, he would give some of them a stimulant and others a sleeping pill.
What we are interested in is the effect on your usual sleep pattern.
And if we like it, can we get it anywhere?
What they didn't know was that they were all given a placebo, an inert pill that doesn't do anything. The result? Well, 2 students felt nothing.
I had no effect from this at all. It didn't change my sleep patterns. I thought it was a psychology experiment.
But 3/4 of the group felt a difference, some a big difference.
I felt great in the morning, even though I had much less sleep than I normally did.
I would love to take this drug every day of my life if I could. So if you know the name of it or where I can buy it, it would be beneficial.
It was wonderful. I got good sleep, sound sleep, didn't wake up. The phone could have been ringing off the hook. I wouldn't have heard it. It was that deep of sleep.
Some reported side effects.
30 minutes after I took the pill, I got a little dizzy.
Then they learned the truth.
You all received the same substance. You all received a sugar pill.
I'm not looking forward to being on national TV and saying that I took a sugar pill, and boy, it made me tired.
I did feel tingling in my hand.
I did.
So the placebo can be a powerful medical aid.
Sweet dreams.
But it has its limits.
If you start to believe in magical thinking, and the next time you go to a doctor and the doctor doesn't give you a satisfactory answer, you'd rather go to an alternative healer who's going to give you some boiled bark or some stone to wear around your neck. It's a dangerous thing to start on.
In New York, Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez treats cancer with things like coffee enemas, pancreatic enzymes, and organic food. The National Cancer Institute wants to study part of his treatment, which many patients say helped them. But others feel they've been seduced by a quack.
It's a lifesaver to cancer patients, he says, a lifesaver.
Flynn Warmington was Holly Schaefer's best friend. Holly died of cancer just 4 months after Gonzalez told her cancer wasn't her main problem.
This is a guy giving coffee enemas. Why would she believe him?
If you get someone who's vulnerable, who has a desperate need having to do with life and death, whose life is threatened, they're very vulnerable to hearing what they want to hear.
This guy had killed her. He had lied to her.
Jack Gray, Holly's husband, says Dr. Gonzalez discouraged Holly from getting a bone marrow transplant that might have cured her. Gray is suing Gonzalez.
All of this hope that he was pumping her full of was just slime.
Maybe he kept her alive longer by giving her hope. I mean, bodies do heal themselves.
Hope is a very good thing. There's no denying the value of hope. But hope is very unlikely to cure Hodgkin's disease.
Gonzalez would not do a television interview with me about this, but he defends his alternative approach and denies the charges in Jack Gray's lawsuit. And natural treatments like his are more popular than ever.
It's exciting and it's natural. Well, tobacco and bird droppings are also natural. Does that give them any particular charm? Are they good for us because they're natural?
We are wonderful at self-deceiving.
Michael Shermer, publisher of Skeptic magazine, is upset at how popular New Age therapies have become.
There's a good reason why we live in the age of science, why the lifespan of humans has doubled in the last 150 years. It's entirely due to medical science, not medical pseudoscience.
We're in a battle all the time to survive, to move ahead, and we're going to lose that fight if we start trying to use magic and spells and incantations. We've got to depend upon reality.
We'll be right back with James Randi's hoax that fooled everybody. Life is scary, unpredictable. Many of us would like to believe that someone somewhere has the answers and will give them to us. Maybe J.Z. Knight can help.
Knight charges people hundreds of dollars to hear her channel Ramtha.
Indeed, I am Ramtha, the Enlightened One, and I am exceedingly pleased to be here.
Channeling means Ramtha, a 35,000-year-old warrior philosopher from the lost city of Atlantis, speaks through J.Z. Knight.
To that which is termed life, the only reality, forever and ever and ever. So be it. Drink up.
Through her, Ramtha predicts the future and gives vague advice.
And for whatever you deem that which I am, it is what you are that is important. Now, get it?
Knight has had thousands of followers, including actress Shirley MacLaine. And Knight's just one of many channelers around.
God bless you, Dr. People. All right, I'll say, how are you this day of your time as you create time to exist? I am a very old spirit.
This channeler brings us Carlos, a 2,000-year-old spirit from Venezuela.
Next question.
Carlos is really Jose Alvarez, a Florida artist coached by James Randi on how to fake being a channeler so that this Australian TV station could show how easy it is to fool people, especially the gullible media.
His name is Carlos, and you've probably seen him on television or mentioned in the press.
Randy's angry at how quick the media is to give attention and therefore credibility to all kinds of paranormal claims. ABC News has done it.
You're convinced you're getting mental images communicated from this dog to you?
We say we're just covering phenomena that fascinate lots of people.
Are we alone?
That's our job. And after all, these are mysteries that haven't been disproven.
It's politically correct to allow everybody to have their opinion aired, whether it's nonsensical, pseudoscientific, whether it's crackpot or whatever.
But that's not fair. We don't suspend our critical thinking. We check these people out before we put them on TV.
You'll get more viewers, and sponsors will like it better if it's a positive point of view about mystical stuff. And this terrible man with the beard, this nasty little gentleman, what is he doing coming on saying these things aren't so?
10 years ago, Randy and Jose, who was then only 19, created Carlos.
This is your reality.
Also, keep very wide. Yeah. Keep very wide, because you're going to be on a big stage.
They invented a press kit that portrayed Jose as a famous South American channeler who gives meaningless advice like, all answers are right answers. It is so. Do you see? The press kit included a videotape of a fake stage show.
Good evening. We cannot recognize time.
Amazingly, most of the Australian media fell for it.
One man who's been making a name for himself here in the United States is now doing the same in Australia.
One phone call would have exposed Carlos as a hoax, but the reporters didn't call.
His body is frequently taken over, he says, by a spirit called Carlos.
One station did check one of his gimmicks. Jose claims that before the spirit enters his body, his heart stops. So the station hired a nurse to check his pulse.
Okay, it's gone.
Of course, stopping your pulse was a trick Randy had taught Jose. You just tape a ball to your skin and squeeze it in your armpit. That stops the pulse in that arm. And then he becomes Carlos.
I am Carlos.
Jose went on to give all kinds of interviews, with Randy backstage supplying the answers through a wireless microphone.
First question.
Can you give us any idea of what this event might be?
It will be astronomical in nature.
It will be astronomical in nature. Next question.
Carlos's Australian tour culminated with an appearance at Sydney's famed Opera House. The crowd listened in awe as Carlos explained that their aches and pains could be cured by the authentic crystals he'd brought back from the lost city of Atlantis, not the fake ones some in the audience wore.
If they were real crystals, she will not have this migraine.
Later, people offered to pay tens of thousands of dollars for crystals Randy and Jose had bought for $1 or $2.
He conned all these people.
Yes.
And did you think people would be so gullible?
Oh, yes. Naturally. They were being told something that was nice, something they would like to believe is true.
He was able.
Channel 9 then told the truth about the hoax.
What is frightening is that it was so easy.
And even after exposing it, many people still believe in channelers and in Carlos?
Oh, absolutely.
At the end, there were people saying, we know everything they're saying about you. We don't care. We believe in you.
No amount of evidence, no matter how good it is or how much there is of it, is ever going to convince the true believer to the contrary.
Lots of people say they can predict the future. Astrologers, psychics, tarot card readers. Yet their predictions, when tested, fail again and again. So why do so many of you give them money?
Are you ready for a real psychic reading?
Lots of people call these psychic hotlines. It's just $4 a minute.
That is registered with the U.S. government and guaranteed authentic.
Phone bill's $642.
Carl Schilling says his wife, Carissa, became obsessed with the hotline.
Here's one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in the same day.
Carissa started calling after her sister in Virginia disappeared.
The not knowing, it'll kill you. All I want from anybody, the police, anybody, is to find my sister.
Carissa, I am a clairvoyant, which means I see information.
She taped some of the sessions.
I don't feel her alive.
You don't?
No.
At least $10,000 has been given to these people.
But maybe the psychics were onto something because many said the same things.
We've heard over and over, wooded area, near water.
A wooded area near water is what almost all psychics tell the police, because when bodies are missing, that means they've been disposed of somewhere. And wooded areas are pretty typical. And near water, find me a place that isn't near water. A river, a lake, the ocean, what? A faucet? You know, what counts as water?
Carissa's desperation led her to psychic sleuth John Monty. Monty claims he saved 9-year-old Katie Beer's life because through him, Long Island police discovered the kidnapped girl in time.
What happens is the psychic walks into the police department and says, that murderer of the little child down the block here, I know something about that.
Well, what's your name?
John Monty.
Monty. Okay, hang on.
We have these pictures because Monty got a local TV news crew to follow him around.
And she's tied up, and the police should have found either a shoe or a sneaker. I can't tell which.
That was one of many tips he gave police.
She was being pursued through here.
But the police say she wasn't pursued through here, and that Monty was of no use at all. But the Schillings didn't know that, so they paid him $2,000 to travel to Virginia to locate Carissa's sister. Monty took their money and led them here. And here. And here. But they found nothing.
He's no psychic, no more than I am.
In Texas, Police Chief Gary Matheson followed up on Monty's leads after 20-year-old Kelly Cox disappeared. First, Monty took the police to the city dump.
This consists of about 250 acres here.
Then to the city power plant.
John seemed to think there was some significance to overhead high-power transmission lines.
To this apartment building.
We don't know anything more now than we did at the beginning. Has it been productive? Absolutely not.
Police waste hours following leads from psychics who say they sense things.
I'm getting red, and there's an M or a double letter connected with this, and there's a car, a light-colored car, I think a small car, and I smell rain or water flowing, and it goes on and on and on like that.
I have a lot of information, and to look back on it, where did it get me? I don't have my sister.
False hope will kill people. False hope and false information. Not only did she lose somebody very important, I've lost my wife.
The Schillings are now living apart. Monty wouldn't talk to us about any of this. Of course, now and then, a few of the psychics' vague predictions come true, and the publicity over that keeps the suckers coming. Other so-called seers work the same way.
They make lots and lots of statements, predictions, comments, and so on. And you remember the hits and forget the misses, so they stand out as unusual when actually it's not.
I asked astrologer Susan Miller to do my horoscope. Miller writes astrology columns for magazines and has a website that's viewed 800,000 times a month. What she gave me was a chart 22 pages long.
You have Jupiter in the 7th house, so you do very well with partners, people who collaborate with you to help you.
This is what's called a cold reading, when you say so much there's bound to be something in here that'll come true. And of course, there's plenty of flattery.
You have Venus in the 10th house, making you a very popular leader or personality. Do you want me to go on?
Go ahead.
In addition,
they use warm reading techniques where they say things that are true for everyone.
Those 3 planets in Pisces makes you very intuitive.
Who doesn't want to think that they're intuitive? There's certain things you can say about people that most of us think are true just about us. Like, you have an above-average sense of humor, or you're not living up to your full potential.
This is silly. What you're saying about me, you could say about anybody. I'm an independent thinker, intuitive, thorough.
But to the nth
Lots
degree.
of people believe this about themselves.
Yes, but I would give perhaps other people different adjectives to describe them.
To show how people fall for this, some years ago for Good Morning America, I had an astrologer do a chart on a mass murderer, Ed Kemper.
Let me pass these out.
Then I gave it to these students, telling them it was their horoscope.
Charlotte Hunter?
Would the mass murderer's horoscope
Gregory...
capture their personality? You bet.
I love me.
Why are you laughing? Is it accurate?
Yes.
I don't know if I was a believer or a non-believer. I was kind of like in the middle. But this is most of it is me.
How many feel that this came pretty close to capturing you? Okay, I hate to tell you this, but you all got the same horoscope.
And I told them whose horoscope it really was.
He's a mass murderer.
I'm glad I didn't tell anybody about this.
Your mate has a right to disagree with you. Be prepared to make some comment. I mean, you could say this about
Yeah,
anybody.
well, it's a gentle way of saying you're going to have some disagreements with your mate this month, and be prepared. You don't just say anything that pops into your head. You have to do the math. You have to do the math.
If you can predict this, why aren't you rich? Why aren't all astrologers rich?
Because I'm a Pisces and I don't care about money. I give it all away.
And of course, sometimes seers pick up cues from you. A witch in an occult store gave me a tarot card reading.
See a lot of stress. Your back hurts you.
Just watching my body language might have told her that.
I see problems with your back.
Such predictions can be harmful because just as there's a placebo effect, there's also something called a nocebo. The voodoo priest says you'll get sick, and you do. That's the nocebo effect. Tell me I'll get back pain.
You'll notice every pain that you do have. Every morning you get up and you roll out of bed, if you get a twinge of any kind, you say, hey, there it is. You start to feel bad immediately.
Some say that's what Gulf War Syndrome's about. Thousands of veterans now claim that serving in the Gulf made them sick.
Chronic headache, fatigue, joint pain.
Chronic fatigue, a suppressed immune system.
The veterans have real symptoms, but major studies have found no germ or pattern of chemicals that could explain how the war caused those symptoms. If they were caused by chemicals, you'd expect the soldiers closest to the action to be sickest. But that's not the case.
Tens of thousands of Americans may have been exposed to Iraqi chemical weapons.
All that publicity about poison gas, environmental toxins, about other soldiers getting sick, that, plus the stress of military service, can make people sick.
From believing it, some people really get sick?
Whether something's really there or not may be irrelevant. It may just be the belief system at work.
When our life ends, is that it? After death, nothing? It's a frightening thought, and perhaps that's why most people say they believe that when they die, their soul or spirit will live on in some form. It explains why this book is a bestseller.
Seattle pediatrician Melvin Morse wrote Closer to the Light. Morse works with very sick children, and he says his 10-year study of kids' near-death experiences provides proof that something survives bodily death.
When you look at these children, when we resuscitate them, we do horrible things to them. Sticking them full of needles.
After the surgery.
Putting needles into their bones, putting things into their tubes. And yet, when you talk to children who have been through such a thing, they say, I was floating on the ceiling. God was keeping me safe when all that was happening.
His conclusion?
I think it is quite possible that when we die, we see God.
The children give details similar to those cited by adults who've had near-death experiences. They talk about being in a tunnel, of hearing voices, of seeing a very bright light that made them feel safe.
We don't want to fall. Watch out for that bump there. Okay?
Morse introduced us to 3-year-old Logan Grant,
You ready?
Yeah.
who after nearly drowning in this pool, says he saw a friendly light.
It looks like a happy face
Where did you see them, happy face?
up in the sky.
Dr. Morse believes these children saw God.
Near-death research is telling us that the dying process is serene, involves seeing God.
Of course, that's not exactly what the children say.
Most of the kids don't say, I saw God. However, when you see the look in their eyes, when you see the awe that they describe the experience, I mean, clearly this is a extraordinary, and it's spiritual.
What else would explain why so many report similar experiences? Well, what might explain it is hallucinations. Many fighter pilots see some of the same things seen by Dr. Morse's children. When they put their aircraft through tight, high-speed maneuvers, their blood sometimes can't get to their brain, and they pass out.
67 seconds.
Thank you.
Dr. James Winery, an aeromedical scientist for the Naval Warfare Center, studies pilots in this centrifuge.
Final countdown. 3, 2, 1.
What happens is you take somebody up to G, about 6 seconds, they lose consciousness. And one of the things we see when blood flow begins to return to the brain is we see these convulsive type movements. Then we feel like the dream period occurs.
Well, I just kind of went off in dreamland.
And when they regain consciousness, many pilots report a happy feeling.
I don't know where I am.
It's a feeling similar to what's reported by Dr. Morse's children.
We see a lot of euphoria, a feeling of being very, very safe and warm, not wanting to be awakened from the loss of consciousness. We have a large number of pilots that say, "Why did you wake me up? I was having such a nice dream and everything was so very pleasant."
Now I know why you want to go back through this.
Many pilots also see that white light, but Dr. Winery has a non-spiritual explanation for that.
It's probably the brain trying to make sense of the very last thing that it sees and the first thing it sees when you come back to consciousness.
Winery and Morse look at similar near-death experiences and conclude different things.
It's clear that when we die, we're conscious, aware, and awake, and experiencing one of the most amazing spiritual experiences of our lives. Actually feeling that we're in the presence of what people loosely call God. There's no way you could have prevented it.
I'd like to believe that. What a comfort that would be. But I'm a skeptical reporter. We're not supposed to look for comfort. We're supposed to look for proof. Some thoughts on skepticism and happiness when we return. One thing that surprised us interviewing believers for this program is that some seem to be living in a different world. Often they were unfazed by what science has to say about their claims. I was impossibly rude to the astrologer.
But I'm suggesting your work is silliness.
She just smiles and says things like,
I know, I'm really sorry you feel that way, but my heart understands your feelings.
The witches and the practitioners of therapeutic touch were similarly sweet. In Florida, I spoke to spiritual mediums, one of whom said, right then I was being comforted by an elderly lady.
This was a family member of yours that you would have known. I feel a grandmother with this.
Now, this is nonsense because I never knew either of my grandmothers. But I must say, imagining that she was there next to me felt good.
I'd like to think that a grandmother is with me touching my arm. It makes me feel warm and happy, cozy. But if I read Skeptic, it's tiny print that I have to struggle through. Doesn't make me feel good. I like her world more than yours.
You would rather live with a lie and a fantasy just to make yourself feel good?
What's the harm in that?
There's harm in not being in touch with what we really know to be true.
A concept the 11-year-old who debunked therapeutic touch has gotten quite clearly.
You want to be thought of as a skeptic?
Yeah. It'll help you in the real world.
Yes, it will. And the real world's all we've got. Believers in the supernatural claim to have special wisdom about the world. But real wisdom means knowing truth from falsehood, knowing the difference between evidence and wishful thinking. Yes, the real world's mysterious and sometimes frightening, but would the supernatural make it better? The real world has beauty, poetry, love, and the joy of honest discovery. Isn't that enough? That's our program for tonight. Stay tuned for Nightline after your local news. I'm John Stossel. Good night.